Good morning, church. It doesn't matter how many times I watch that, it moves me every time. It's beautiful, isn't it? Good morning. It's so good to be with you today. To those of you who are visiting or who are new, then it's nice to meet you. My name's Lois, and together with Steve and Sean and Di, we are the lead team of FCC here, and I'm so glad that you would spend your Sunday with us. And for those joining us online or catching up in the week, some people, it's like the future. So wherever you are, whenever you are listening, be blessed, and may God be with you today. So we're going to start by looking at that question we put on the screen, which, in case you were confused, it's like, what's your favourite accent to listen to? Anyone want to tell me your favourite accent to listen to? Irish? Yeah, like a bit of Irish. Mina, did you have your hand up? Irish is... We've got some Irish lovers over here. St. Helens. Brilliant. Any more for any more? Welsh, got a bit of Welsh. Caroline, you got to vote for the Welsh over there. Any more? Should we have one from over here? Yeah. Australian, love it. One more? So Scottish American and something else, I think. So lots and lots of favourite accents. I love accents. I mean, how boring would the world be if everyone talked in one flat, same voice? How boring would that be? Accents are absolutely brilliant. I love the bounciness of a Geordie accent. Why, aye, man? I love the passion of an Italian accent. I love the rhythm of the voices we hear from across West Africa. And I love how the Aussies make everything sound like a question. How do they do it? I love hearing the range of voices and accents, different sounds and different rhythms, but I've got a confession to make. I have got a really bad habit. I don't know why I do it, but for some reason, if someone is talking to me with an accent, my brain says, mirror it back. Do that same accent back to them. That'll be okay. That's not okay. Can I just say, if I've ever done that to you, I am so sorry. I don't know what happens. This feeling just comes up inside of me, and it's what I call a vocal chameleon. So I just blend in with however you talk, I'll try and talk, and I'll do it really badly as well. Now, it happened on this very stage at December in our carol service. I don't know if anyone noticed, but for some reason, halfway through the nativity, I took one look at my good friend Caroline. All of a sudden, about when the angels appeared, it all got a bit Welsh. I honestly don't know. I'm so sorry, Caroline. I don't know what happened. I don't know what came over me, but I have this thing where I just mimic people's accents. I forget my roots. I forget where I'm from. I don't even know where I'm from. I'll just talk how you talk to me. I am a vocal chameleon. So when I moved to Leeds for uni, it was less than a week before I would greet people with, "Hey up, duck," or "Hey up, love." And then I moved to East London, where suddenly London became London. And you weren't going into town, you're going uptown. And then there's my phone voice. Has anyone else got a phone voice? Yeah. You know when you're on the phone to someone official and all of a sudden I pronounce all of my T's. And I am like something out of Mary Poppins. And then I moved to Liverpool, and before not, I ordered chicken and a can of Coke. I don't know what happens. It just comes out. Do you know who I really admire? I really admire people who move somewhere completely new, surrounded by different accents, different cultures, different voices, and yet they still sound exactly like home. Like their accent hasn't shifted one bit. So I was FaceTiming a friend this week who lives in Thailand now. She is surrounded by a whole mix of voices, different accents and languages, and yet she is still as Yorkshire as they come. It's not left her one bit. You can hear it in every word. You know what I call that? Vocal integrity. Keeping the accent, no matter how far away from home, that is vocal integrity. And integrity is what we are talking about today. As we continue our series on the Beatitudes, we are walking through the upside-down, kingdom-shaping statements that Jesus made during that sermon, the Sermon on the Mount. And each week in this series, we've experienced the Beatitudes in different ways. So we have read them together. We've had a Beatitude battle one week with Solomon and with Jan. We have heard it in different languages. We've shouted it. We've spoken it. And today we're going to experience the Beatitudes a little bit different because we're going to be experiencing it through sign language. So I'm going to invite a friend of mine who has an absolutely cracking accent because it is like a remix of various different regions and I can't quite place it and there's no one quite like it. Where is your accent a blend from, Rachel?
Okay, so I was born in Gloucester, so you are a tratter. But my mum and dad are both from Cardiff, so it's Welsh. And then I moved here and tried to sound like a Scouser because I teach children that don't understand me unless I speak in Scouse. So very mixed up and confused.
Brilliant. So what Rachel is going to do is she is going to sign the Beatitudes for us, and we're just going to listen this week. But because there is one word that comes up in the Beatitudes over and over and over again, I thought Rachel could teach us that word. It's the word blessed, so that every time we say that word, you can join in with that sign. Is that all right? Yeah. Great. So Rachel, how do we sign the word blessed?
In sign language is a good sign. So fantastic, praise, proud, they all have thumbs up basically. So hands out in front of you, roll it up into a palm. Blessed.
Blessed. Amazing. Are you ready? Brilliant. So, yes. Well, they'll... Can you see that?
Oh, yes.
If not, I've got it here.
No, I've got terrible small vision, but I've got...
Miles away. She's absolutely fine. So for those of us who are hearing in here today, I encourage you not just to listen as I read these words, but to really watch and experience the word of God in a fresh way today and join in with that blessed sign. Do it one more time for us. Blessed. Brilliant. So here we go. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of things against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. Amen. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much, and I pray that that will keep repeating in your mind so you will continue to understand and experience the blessing that it is to see the word of God as well as hearing it as well. So today's beatitude, today's blessed statement is blessed. Do it one more time. Blessed. Brilliant. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. I wonder when you hear that phrase, pure in heart, what you might think of. I asked Google, who is pure in heart? What does a pure person look like? Shall we have a look? First of all, Sister Maria there, is what Google thought was a pure person. Second of all, someone a little bit different part of the world probably there. Third, Google thought, any parents of a 2-year-old agree with that? Pure in heart? Didn't think so. Next, Google thought Florence Nightingale, saintly, devoted, selfless. Was there another? And then there was another. Google said, like the innocence of a bride-to-be, pure in heart. So that's what Google thinks, but I wonder what you would think of when you think of pure in heart. Now, it's interesting what our imagination associates with the word purity. I probably tend to think of innocence or naivety, sinlessness. Maybe you think of people who are untouched by the mess of real life. And depending on how you define purity, one of two things might happen over the next 20 minutes or so. You might quietly check yourself out of this message by thinking, pure, that's not me. I know my thoughts. I know where I've been. I know my past. It's too late for me, pure in heart. Or you might think, well, I am pure. I've kept myself holy, I'm pure, I am doing all right, I am a decent person, I've got this sorted out, so this message is for everyone else, because I've got this sussed. But as I've been studying this beatitude, I've been really challenged, because when Jesus says, blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God, he isn't actually talking about a polished perfection. He's talking about something a lot deeper, and actually something that is achievable for all of us, no matter our past or our present. And one translation that's really helped me in understanding this is from the Message. And it paraphrases it like this. You're blessed when you get your inside world, so your mind and your heart, put right. Then you can see God in the outside world. Let me just read that one more time. You're blessed when you get your inside world, your mind and your heart put right. Then you can see God in the outside world. And I love that version because it shifts the focus from outward performance to inward intentions. It's not about looking pure. It's about being whole on the inside. It is about integrity. So if you're here today and you know there is some work to be done in my mind, or if you know that your heart doesn't always align with God's, or if you sometimes feel a bit like me, like a chameleon that blends in with whoever you're around, whichever group of friends or whoever you are hanging out with, you just become a bit like them, one version of you on the outside, another on the inside, then this beatitude is for you. And honestly, I think that is every single one of us at some point in our lives. So to explore this, we are going to look at a story in the book of Matthew in the Bible. And it's Matthew chapter 23. And here we see a side of Jesus that we don't always dwell on. He isn't softly speaking by a lakeside, and he's not gently restoring the broken. He's angry. He is calling something out. Now, we often talk about the gracious, loving, forgiving Jesus, and rightly so, because Jesus is all of those things. But in this chapter, we see that something has stirred Jesus. Like, he is irked. He is annoyed. And the people who have stirred him up, well, it's the Pharisees. Have we ever heard of the Pharisees? Yeah, some of us. So the Pharisees were like deeply religious leaders. They were devout. They knew their scriptures. They followed the laws. They were faithful. From the outside, they looked like the definition of pure in heart. They were getting it all right according to the scriptures. If anyone in their culture would have been described as pure in heart, it was probably them, living the holy way, doing the right thing. And yet these are the people that Jesus confronts most strongly. I wonder why. Maybe because purity of heart isn't about reputation or religious activity or appearing righteous. It's about integrity, the alignment between what's happening inside of you and what you project and what you live out on the outside. So Matthew chapter 23 begins like this. Brace yourselves. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. So you must be careful to do everything they tell you. But do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. They tie up heavy, cumbersome loads and put them on other people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. everything they do is done for people to see. Let's just pause there. So that's Jesus talking to the Pharisees. I'll let you in on a little secret. I hate confrontation and conflict. Anyone else? Yeah, a few people. You're even scared to admit, oh yeah, what's she going to say? Nothing. You are my people. Anyone love it? Yeah, I can see you. I can see that hand. So I hate confrontation. I squirm like a worm when things get tense. I can barely cope watching the round tables on the traitors. My whole body tightens up. So when I read Matthew chapter 23, I read it a little bit like this, because all of a sudden, my sweet, gentle Jesus is getting a bit confrontational. And I don't really like it. I don't know where to look because Jesus is not holding back. In fact, between verse 13 and 29, 7 times he says this: "Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites." Imagine Jesus looking at you and calling you a hypocrite. Oh my goodness, I'd be gone. 7 times. That is not a gentle nudge. That's not a stroke on the head and saying you can do better. That is a full-on rebuke. Now, we're going to jump ahead to verses 25 to 28. Here is what Jesus says to the Pharisees. "Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! For you clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. First, clean the inside of the cup and dish, then the outside also will be clean." He goes again. "Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! For you are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of the bones of the dead and everything unclean. In the same way, on the outside, you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside, you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness." Strong words. It's almost like that moment when a parent says, "I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed." Ouch. Jesus has seen a lot in his ministry. He has seen sin, he's seen injustice, he's seen brokenness, he's encountered all kinds of messy humanity, and yet this behavior from the religious people, this is what riled him up. Because the Pharisees acted one way in public and another way in private. They talked the talk, but they didn't walk the walk. They put on this polished performance. They looked spiritually impressive. They said all the right things, followed all the right visible rules, but the condition of their hearts, their motives, their attitudes, their inner world that nobody else could see or hear, told a very different story. Jesus summarized it in one devastating sentence from verse 3. They don't practice what they preach. And that is the opposite of integrity. So when we hold the Pharisees' example next to our beatitude, that's where Jesus says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they'll see God," we see the contrast. See how the Pharisees, they were bothered about clearing up their outside world, about looking good and playing the part, but Jesus is just as interested as the inside. Purity of heart isn't about image management. It's about intention and integrity. And it's about who we are when no one is watching. So maybe the question for us this morning is simple but uncomfortable. Do our words and our actions line up? Does our behavior reflect our belief? Because integrity is when our words and our actions, our behavior and our belief all tell the same story. And in order for us to experience the blessing of this beatitude, I believe that Jesus would invite us to live on the narrow path of integrity. And it's not the popular path. It's not the easy way to live. It's sometimes costly, it can feel lonely, and often it is deeply countercultural. But it's the path that leads to purity of heart and the path that Jesus calls blessed. Now, let's just be clear about something. Integrity isn't perfection. It's not about never getting it wrong, because we are human. We will mess up. We will regret decisions. We will say things we wish we could take back. So integrity isn't about a flawless performance, but it is about honesty and consistency. So how consistent are we? Are we the same person on a Sunday morning as we are in the office on a Wednesday, or at the pub on a Friday, or pitchside on a Saturday? Do we act one way amongst Christians, but then another way amongst our colleagues? Do we raise our hands in worship on Sunday and then use those same hands differently in road rage on Monday? Do we celebrate diversity in church, but then like racist comments online during the week? Do we say we're pursuing holiness until a few swipe rights later when we're rethinking our boundaries? Do we hug a friend at community group one week and then criticize them the next? Do we stand firmly on biblical truth, but then bend it when it's a bit inconvenient? You see, purity and integrity, they require honesty and consistency. The way we live, the decisions we make, the words we choose, the way we talk about people who aren't in the room, the messages we send, the content we consume, the way we handle our money, the way we treat someone who can do nothing for us in return, it all matters. Because Jesus is just as bothered about the inside, about our intention, about our attitude, about what happens when no one else is looking. And there is a blessing when our inside world and our outside world are aligned, and when they honestly and consistently reflect Jesus. That is when we see God. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. And the amazing thing about Jesus is he never expects us to be perfect. Jesus sees us. He knows us. And like Agnes prayed this morning, he sees it all. He knew what we'd do. He knew our good days and our bad days. He knew every mistake we would make, every selfish thought, every hidden compromise, every moment we'd be proud of, and the things we wish we could forget. And he still chose the cross for us. And he still chose the cross for you. That is how much he loves you. It's how much he loves me. It's how much he loves all of us. And in Romans chapter 8, Paul writes that there is nothing, nor death, nor life, not your present or your past. Nothing can separate us from the love of God. There's literally nothing you could do that would make Jesus stop loving you. So integrity is not about earning God's love by living perfectly. If we ever think it's that, we've got it wrong. But it is about enjoying his blessing by reflecting God's love consistently, authentically, and honestly. Jesus welcomes all of you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But he also leaves you too much. It loves you too much to leave you unchanged. He wants to celebrate your good. He wants to heal what's broken. And he wants to restore what feels ugly or damaged. And being pure in heart is about having the humility and the honesty to say there are parts of me that need putting right. And then inviting Jesus into that process. Because the reality is, Jesus wants an all-access pass to your life. He wants access to every part of your life. Now, I'm currently in the process of selling my house. And when you buy a house, you get the keys to your house. And you get the keys to the whole house. Now imagine if I sold my house and then I said to the new owner, here are the keys, but if I could just hang on to that one, you can have the rest, you can go everywhere else in the house, but I'm just going to keep the spare room, if that's okay. Don't go in, don't look at it, have everything else, just not that. That wouldn't work, would it? And yet sometimes that's exactly what we do with Jesus. We say, have most of my life. Have like 5 days of the week, but give me 2 just for me. Have most of my life, but let me just do my finances the way I want. Have most of my life, but when it comes to relationships, I will sort that bit out. We give Jesus access most areas pass. And I think there are a couple of reasons why maybe we do that from experience in my own life. Firstly, you know how everyone has a drawer of doom? Does anyone else have that in their house? Yeah. It's where you shove everything. Takeaway menus, bills, credit card statements, batteries, things that are broken, rubber bands. Everything goes in the drawer of doom. Or it might be a cupboard. For me, it's both. It's actually several. It's where all of life's mess gets shoved. And you've been meaning to sort it out for years, and it's bursting at the seams, and you would be mortified if anyone saw in it, because it reveals that really you're a mess. And maybe there's part of your life a little bit like that, a part of your past, a hidden struggle, a secret habit, or a wound you've never dealt with. And you think, Jesus, you can have every other part of my life, just not that. I don't want to open that cupboard and deal with that. That fear and that shame can keep us from giving Jesus an access all areas pass to our lives. And then I think there's another reason that we can give Jesus most of the keys to our lives, but not all. And that's because there are parts of our life we don't want to let go of, not because they're messy, because we enjoy them. Because we know that deep down Jesus might ask us to release them. A relationship, or a behavior, or a habit, or a phrase that we say, or a compromise. Maybe deep down we know if we brought that to the light, Jesus might just suggest we change our ways. Maybe we tell ourselves it's harmless or we're forgiven. So we give Jesus access most areas, but we just try and hold on to one area. But you know, pursuing purity and living with integrity, it'll require us to trust Jesus with every part of our lives. It means being honest with him about the messy parts and the tidy parts. Purity of heart means allowing him to shape our finances, our politics, our sexuality, our social media use, our business decisions, our friendships, our parenting, our dating, our inside world, and our outside world. So as we get ready to close, let me just gently ask you, are there any areas of your life that maybe you've locked away from Jesus? Maybe because you're ashamed of what's inside? Or are there any areas that you've denied him access because you just don't want to surrender them? My invitation to you today is simply, would you trust Jesus with that thing? Would you give him access all areas? Because pursuing purity and integrity isn't a one-time decision. It's an intentional choice every single day. So, I'm going to give you some homework, a challenge, our 10% stretch, as we've been calling it throughout this series. And our 10% stretch for this week, something for you to do, involves 3 words: confession, consistency, and courage. Confession. This week, can you be honest with God? Can you just find some time and be honest with what's really going on? What are your hidden cupboards? What are the things that you maybe are denying him access to at the moment? Be honest with him. And then secondly, consistency. This week, for 1 whole week, 7 whole days, what is one intentional decision that you could make every day that aligns your behavior with your belief? And it doesn't need to be big. It can be something really small, really simple, but do it every day. Not perfectly, just intentionally. And lastly, courage. This week, will you ask God for courage? Because it takes bravery to open the cupboard. It takes courage to surrender what we enjoy. It takes courage to live differently in a culture that often celebrates compromise. So confession, consistency, and courage. We will need those things if we want to travel the narrow path of integrity. But it's a path that doesn't lead to shame, it leads to blessing. We will begin to see God. Not just one day in heaven, but here and now, at work in and through our lives and in our relationships, in our workplaces and in our families, we will see God. That's the blessing and that's the promise. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. I want to invite you to stand with me if you're able to. And there is a response that you're going to be invited to. And there's 3 things you can do, because there's real power in naming the things that you are struggling with. Maybe those things that we want to hold back from God. So if you want to, then one of the ways you can respond is by writing that thing on a paper heart in this corner and just leaving it at the foot of a cross where there's a basket, and they will remain confidential between you and Jesus. And that is just a way for you to say, God, I'm naming it and I'm giving it to you and I'm trusting you with this part of my life. There's also power in prayer. So our prayer team are going to be over at the prayer point at the back just there, so that if you would like to be prayed for anything, they will pray for you over there. And there's also power in worship. So if you want to respond, we are going to sing a song. Lord, I give you my heart. I give you every part of my life. Have it all, God. Even the bits that feel scary, maybe the bits I feel ashamed of. So you can respond however you want to this morning, but let me pray before we respond. God of kindness and grace, I thank you that we can humbly approach you and that there is permission to come to you imperfectly and authentically. But thank you that your invitation doesn't lead us to shame, but towards grace and forgiveness. So help us, God. We give you our heart. We give you full access, even the parts we try to keep from you. In your precious name.